You think they walked away because you weren't enough. Maybe you've replayed the moment they said goodbye 1,000 times in your mind, searching for what you could have done differently, how you could have made them stay. But what if they didn't leave you? What if they were asterisk removed asterisk? I know that's hard to hear when your heart still aches for their touch, when silence echoes louder than closure. But sometimes the heartbreak we feel isn't punishment, it's protection. Sometimes unanswered prayers are the clearest answers we'll ever get. Let me ask you something. How many times have you held on to someone longer than they were meant to stay? How many signs did you ignore just because you were afraid to start over? We convince ourselves that losing someone means we've lost our chance at love. But truthfully, we only lose what wasn't meant for us. And sometimes God intervenes not to hurt you, but to save you from a cycle, from a trauma, from repeating what you swore you'd never go through again. So maybe the person you thought was your forever was actually just your lesson. And maybe this heartbreak is your turning point. Because today, we're not just talking about who left. We're talking about why they had to go. And why that goodbye might be the most sacred beginning you've ever known. Let's dive in. From the moment we're young, we're sold a fantasy that somewhere out there is the one. The perfect person who will complete us, heal us, make everything make sense. Movies, songs, even well-meaning advice from those we love all feed the same story that our job in life is to find this one missing piece. So, we grow up chasing it. Or worse, believing we've found it in someone who mirrors our pain more than our peace. That's where it begins, the illusion. Not of love, but of emotional familiarity disguised as love. Because what no one tells you is this. Most of us fall not for what's healthy, but for what's familiar. If you were ignored as a child, you'll chase those who are emotionally unavailable. If you were only loved when you performed, you'll overextend yourself for someone who never asked you to. And if you never saw true partnership modeled growing up, you might believe chaos is passion and inconsistency is chemistry. So, when that person left you or drifted, ghosted, betrayed, you didn't just lose a relationship. You lost a fantasy. You lost the dream that this was the one, that this would be the person who would finally stay. And that loss is devastating, not because of who they are, but because of what they represented: safety, significance, belonging. But here's a deeper truth. We don't attract what we deserve asterisk. We attract what we believe we're worth asterisk. If you believe love has to be hard, painful, earned, you'll keep choosing people who make you prove your value. If you believe you're not enough, you'll fall for people who reflect that back to you. This is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal. Because if not, everyone you meet will just be a new face for an old wound. The illusion of the one often keeps us stuck in cycles. We confuse soul ties with soulmates. We label codependency as devotion. And we stay, long after our spirit has asked us to walk away. But what if this heartbreak is the first time in your life you've been given the chance to see clearly? What if the one isn't someone who completes you, but someone who meets you where you already feel whole? Because here's what they never told you. The greatest love stories don't begin with finding the right person. They begin with becoming the right person for yourself. It's not bad luck, it's your energy attracting what feels familiar, not what you truly desire. My book The Law of Attraction in Relationships guides you step by step on how to break free from these frustrating cycles and finally start attracting love that is genuine, fulfilling, and aligned with who you truly are. It's one of the most painful moments in life when someone you gave your heart to looks you in the eye and chooses to walk away. Or worse, they never give you a clear answer. They just disappear, leaving behind unanswered texts and unfinished conversations. That moment can feel like the end of the world, but sometimes it's the beginning of a much better one. Because here's the truth most people don't realize in the middle of rejection sometimes. It's redirection, a detour from devastation you didn't even see coming. Think back. How many times have you begged for a relationship to work, only to discover later that if it had it would have cost you your peace, your self-respect, your dreams, maybe even your future? There's a story I love about a woman who was devastated after being dumped just before her wedding. She thought her world had ended. But in the months that followed, she began traveling, rediscovering who she was, and eventually started a nonprofit that changed thousands of lives. Years later, she met a partner who aligned deeply with her mission, and together, they've built a legacy. Would she have found that life if the rejection hadn't happened? Probably not. Because sometimes, the very thing that feels like punishment is actually divine protection in disguise. Psychologist Guy Winch explains that the emotional pain of rejection actually activates the same areas in the brain as physical pain. That's why heartbreak can feel like you're being torn apart from the inside. But what the brain also does is try to assign meaning. And if we're not careful, we assign the wrong one. I wasn't enough. I'll always be alone. I must be unlovable. Those are lies rejection whispers to us. But what if, instead of believing the lies, we started listening for the lesson? Rejection teaches us who isn't aligned with our growth. It filters out what wasn't meant for our next season. And it creates space not just for someone new, but for something deeper, self-awareness, healing, purpose. Because the people who leave your life weren't always meant to stay. Some were just meant to awaken you. The hard part, we rarely see this in real time. In the moment, it feels like heartbreak. But years from now, when you're walking in your worth, aligned with your truth, and living in peace, you'll look back and whisper, thank God they left. So if you're in that space right now, crying over unanswered questions, staring at old pictures, trying to make sense of it all, just know this. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. And sometimes, God allows the door to slam shut, so you never again walk into a room that was never meant to hold your heart. It's one of the most confusing and painful truths of life, that the very thing we beg God to fix is sometimes what He's trying to remove. You prayed for the relationship to last. You asked for signs. You begged for healing, for change, for them to finally choose you. But nothing shifted. In fact, it fell apart even more. And now you're left wondering if God even heard you at all. He did. But His answer was no. And not because He didn't love you, but because He loves you too much to let you stay somewhere you were shrinking. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. God's love doesn't always come in the form of comfort. Sometimes it comes in the form of cleansing, a sacred undoing that feels like abandonment, but is actually alignment. It's easy to see God in open doors, in blessings, and answered prayers. But the real test of faith is this. Can you still trust Him in the silence? Can you believe in His protection, even when it feels like pain? Because when someone walks away, our first instinct is to ask, why would God let this happen? But what if the better question is, what was God saving me from? Maybe He saw the manipulation you were too blind to see. Maybe He knew the trauma you were reenacting. Maybe He understood that no matter how much love you gave, it would never be enough to fix someone who refuses to heal. And so, He did what you were too tired to do. He let them go. He pulled you out. Even if you went kicking and screaming. The Bible is full of moments where people begged for something to work out, only to later realize God had something far greater in mind. Moses begged to enter the promised land. He didn't, but his purpose was fulfilled. Jesus wept before the crucifixion. He still walked through it for something bigger than comfort, redemption. So maybe this heartbreak isn't the end of your story. Maybe it's the page God had to turn because you wouldn't. And maybe, just maybe, what feels like loss is the loudest I love you heaven could whisper. Because God doesn't always protect you by giving you what you want. Sometimes He protects you by refusing to. It's not bad luck, it's your energy attracting what feels familiar, not what you truly desire. My book The Law of Attraction in Relationships guides you step by step on how to break free from these frustrating cycles and finally start attracting love that is genuine, fulfilling, and aligned with who you truly are. Everyone tells you to move on, delete their number, get back out there, start fresh. But true healing doesn't begin when you erase someone from your life. It begins when you stop abandoning yourself. Because the real question isn't why did they leave? Why did I stay so long in a place that hurt me? You see, we often treat healing like a destination, a moment when you're finally over it, when the tears stop, when you can see their face without flinching. But healing isn't linear. And it's not about moving on from it's about returning to you. Because when someone breaks your heart, they don't just leave with memories. They leave with pieces of your identity, your sense of worth, your trust in your own intuition. And to truly heal, you have to come back for those pieces. What part of you believed that pain was normal? What part of you mistook chaos for connection? What wounds from your past led you to settle for crumbs and call it love? This is shadow work. This is where the real healing happens. You stop asking why they hurt you and start asking why it felt familiar. Because often, the heartbreak isn't new. It's just the latest echo of a deeper wound you've carried for years. Psychologist Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's what healing inward is all about. Bringing light to the dark corners of your story so you stop living it on repeat. It's painful, it's slow, but it's sacred. And eventually, you begin to rebuild. You stop performing for love. You stop begging to be chosen. You stop making yourself small just to be tolerated. Instead, you choose your peace. Your joy, your worth, and in doing so, you send out a new energy, one that no longer attracts chaos, but connection. Not survival, but safety. Not another lesson, but love. So no, you don't need to move on. You need to move inward into the parts of you that still ache, into the memories you've buried, into the version of yourself you abandoned in order to be loved. That's where the real healing lives. And that's where your new story begins. You keep thinking you lost love, But take a deep breath and look closer. What if what you actually lost wasn't love, but the illusion of it? Because real love doesn't manipulate you. It doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't make you prove your worth again and again while your soul slowly fades. What you were in may have felt intense, consuming, even addictive, but that wasn't love. That was a lesson. One your heart needed so it could finally wake up. It's hard to admit that someone we gave so much to was never capable of giving it back. It's humbling, it's heartbreaking, but it's also liberating. Because once you stop chasing closure from someone who was never emotionally available, you give yourself permission to create your own closure. You stop saying, "Why didn't they love me enough?" and start saying, "Why didn't I know I deserved more?" This is the shift. This is when the wound becomes wisdom. When the pain stops defining you and starts refining you. It's the moment when you realize you didn't lose your soulmate. You lost a mirror that reflected all the ways you were still abandoning yourself. And now you get to choose differently. No more tolerating half effort. No more calling inconsistency passion. No more begging for what you were born to receive freely: love, safety, devotion. Yes, it hurts deeply. But on the other side of that hurt is healing. And on the other side of that healing is the kind of love you never have to question. But first, before any of that, you must honor the lesson. Because pain that is not transformed will always be transmitted to others, to yourself, to your future relationships. So take the time, grieve the fantasy, release the version of you who didn't know better, and thank the experience for what it was: not a failure, not a punishment, but a powerful lesson disguised as heartbreak. You didn't lose love. You lost a person who wasn't ready for it. And now, finally, you're free to receive the love that is. So here you are, still standing, still breathing, still loving, even after it all. That in itself is a miracle. You thought losing them would break you. And maybe it did for a while. Maybe you cried until your chest ached. Maybe you stopped trusting your heart. Maybe you forgot who you were outside of that relationship. But what you didn't lose was your soul. And now, piece by piece, you're starting to come back to life. That's what this was really about. Not the loss of a person, but the return of your power. You see, heartbreak isn't just about ending. It's about becoming. It's about shedding the layers of you that settled, that overgave, that stayed silent just to keep someone close, and stepping into the version of you that knows. Let that be your truth now. Not the version of love you were taught to chase, but the version your soul has been craving all along. And as you walk into your next season, remember this: you're not behind. You're not broken. You're just in the middle of your becoming. The person you were is gone. And that's not a tragedy, it's a transformation. Your story doesn't end with someone leaving. It begins with you staying with yourself. And if you stay long enough, if you heal deep enough, love will find you again. The real kind this time. The kind you never have to beg for. The kind that feels like peace, not pain. The kind that feels like home. So here's to the one who left. And here's to the lesson they taught. But most of all, here's to you. You didn't just survive, you rose. And next time, you'll love from a place so whole, so rooted, so healed, that no one will ever mistake your worth again. If this video spoke to your heart, there's more coming just for you. In our next episode, we're diving into how to stop attracting emotionally unavailable people and finally break the cycle. You won't want to miss it. Make sure to subscribe.